Good day, family and friends. How is everyone today? It is the 8th day of the year, 2025. We just went through the first week of January. Welcome to my channel. My name is Alexis. My friends call me Lexi. I hope you decide to become one of my friends and comment, and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. If you've been here for my last 3 videos, this is video or episode number 4. And today we're going to be talking about resolutions. Like, do you make resolutions? Do you believe in resolutions? Do you agree in resolutions? If you do make resolutions, do you stick them out? Or are you already, this is day 8 of 2025, and you're like, I'm over this. I personally don't make resolutions. I don't believe in resolutions. I never have. I feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like, especially for me, I'm 60 years old. I know what I need to do. I know what I want to do to make things better. So I'd rather set intentions. Like set an intention of what you want to see happen this year. What I wanted to see happen this year is starting out here on YouTube as a 60-year-old sexagenarian. And I just turned 60 back in August. I'm a Leo, as you can see here by my little lion pendant charm. And I know myself good enough to know that resolutions are not for me. They're just not. You make them, it's so much stress. Why come into a new year stressed out? You don't need to do that. You already know what you did last year, what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and you need to go into this year making things a little bit better for yourself. I know for me, I started a weight loss journey about 5 years ago. I mean, I've been on a weight loss journey probably, my God, for the last 30 years, I would say. In high school, I was a size 7. And when I lived in Chicago, and I explained all this, I think, in my first and second videos. So you go back and watch and give me a like over there. But I lived in Chicago for 4 years during my high school years. So from 8th grade to 11th grade. And I was away from home, away from everything that I grew up knowing. And my mom wasn't with me. I lived with an older sibling, my older sister. We're 18 years apart. And she just had her 78th birthday in November. And she's still here, thank God. And I have a brother also. And he is, I believe, 76. And he's still here. And I'm grateful to both of them. I was raised an only child, however. I'm my mother's only child. My father had 3 children. Hence, my oldest sibling, my sister, then my brother, and then me, the baby of the family. So, and that's an 18-year difference between my sister and me. So, yeah, my dad waited a long time. And a 16-year difference between my brother and I. But anyway, so growing up in Chicago, I was really thin. I was homesick. So, I didn't eat, and I walked everywhere because we had to walk to school. I lived in Hyde Park. I lived right across from the University of Chicago. And so I walked to school. My middle school was William H. Ray Middle School. And that was, I don't know how many blocks away from where I lived. So I walked to school every day and walked home every afternoon. And when I went to high school, I went to Kenwood Academy. And I walked from where I lived on 56th Street in Hyde Park all the way over to, or is it 56th Street, I guess? 56th Avenue. I lived on Maryland Avenue. So I lived near the big, I don't know if it's still there, because I haven't been back to Chicago since 1981. so I couldn't tell you anything about Chicago right now. But I live near the University of Chicago track and their track and fields, and we walked. And I walked to school every day, and I walked home every day. And so I had a metabolism. I was young. When I moved back home for my senior year, I still maintained pretty much, but I started getting chunkier and chunkier. And as I graduated high school in 1982, I wasn't walking anymore. I had a driver's license, so I became sedentary. I started driving and not walking and doing those things anymore. So the weight just kept coming on and coming on and coming. And it wasn't like my first year in college or anything like that, but it just came on. When I went to college, I guess they say you gain what? The college 15 or whatever. And my first round of college, I did a year at Bronx Community College in New York, in the Bronx. And I probably was eating a lot of junk, junk food, pizza. I love pizza, of course. There's no better place to have pizza than New York City, the best in the world. And so that kind of thing. So my weight just steadily started growing and growing and growing until I ended up over 200 pounds in my 20s. And I was still pretty fit then. I didn't look like I was super overweight or anything like that. My skin was still firm. I didn't have, like, bat wings and things like that. And I thought, well, I look cute. I'm just thick, you know? And so my resolution at that time was, I'm going to lose weight and I'm just going to get thin and I'm going to do this. That didn't work. Who am I kidding? I love food and I love to eat. And I didn't care what anybody said. My mother was always super, super thin, always thin. So, she really didn't understand it. She didn't understand me being heavy. And she would always say, well, so-and-so says you're just getting too heavy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I really don't care. My mother really cared about what other people said. And I don't give a damn what anybody says. They don't live my life. They don't feed me. They don't pay my bills. I don't care. I don't care what they say. If I'm gaining weight, that's their problem, not my problem. But of course, fast forward to now, I'm 60, and when I started back on a weight loss journey, I started back on a weight loss journey when I was 55. So I started doing Weight Watchers. I did Weight Watchers as a kid because my mother, like I said, she was very fat phobic. And I was a little bit chunky as a child, but when I grew into a teenager, I wasn't. And so she decided to put me on Weight Watchers, and I had to have been 8 or 9. I was probably the youngest one there at the Weight Watchers meetings. And so I ate whatever their little thing was. Cauliflower, back then it was, instead of potatoes, eat cauliflower. So we had cauliflower. I didn't know anything about cauliflower rice, of course, at that time. This was back in the 70s. So I used to make cauliflower mashed potatoes. I had a protein. And this dessert that they used to have on Weight Watchers back then was, you take frozen strawberries and you put them in a blender with, I think, evaporated milk or something, and you make like a milkshake, or maybe it was skim milk. I don't know. Because back then, of course, that was the 70s. I didn't live in California. I didn't live in any place where I lived in the Virgin Islands. I didn't know anything about protein. I definitely didn't know anything about protein powders and stuff. And as a child, I would not have been taking that stuff anyway. So this is way before that. This is 50 something years ago. So losing weight has always been on the agenda. But after a while, you keep making these resolutions and you don't stick to them. What is the point? What is the point? What is the motivation and the goal that you want to get to is what works better, So I decided years ago that resolutions were not for me. I don't believe in them. They put you under stress and you're stressed out and you're, for me, maybe, trying to starve myself, to lose 2 pounds, and it's like, makes no sense. Sorry, I have YouTube on in the background. Makes no sense. So, yeah, no. So now Fast forward to 60. I have been for the last few years just making intentions of what I want to do better. Try to, you know, do a recap of the year before. And like I stated in my first video, the last couple years were so hard. And there's a video that I did maybe 3 years ago. As I stated, this is my first video back that I posted. I stated that that was 4 days ago on Sunday, that was my first video in 11 years, but that wasn't my first video in 11 years. My first video was 3 years ago. And so it was like an 8-year hiatus from YouTube. And then 3 years ago, I made a video just crying. My mother had just passed. And my mother and I were like this. And we lived together for the last 27 years before she passed. And she's been with me since before my daughter was born, through a relationship, bad relationship with the sperm donor. That's what he will be known as on this channel. And I had an 8-year relationship with the sperm donor. And a year after my daughter was born, he decided to leave. And that's a whole nother Oprah show and a story, another story time for another day. But my mother, I really miss her, you know. I mean, I do. She was my best friend. I mean, she was my ride or die, had my back for anything as I had hers. And so that started me thinking. My mother was 89 when she passed, had always been in good health, but she passed from, and my mother always worked out. My mother was probably keto before there was even keto. She didn't even know anything about that. My mother was very low carb. My mother was very portion controlled with her eating. You know, she was thin always, and she started getting heavy. And I'm like, I wonder, you know, what is going on with that? Come to find out, it was bloating because my mother had congestive heart failure. We had no idea. And so all that water she was just swelling and swelling and swelling. And so she left us in June of 2021. And I beat myself up about that. And I talk about that in my first video back. And so, you know, I just decided at that time that I was going to get healthy. My mother always promised me that she would live until 100. That was her goal. She's like, I'm going to be here till I'm 100. I'm like, okay, you promised. And she said, I'm not going anywhere. But of course, you know, God had other plans for her. And so she's doing her work with the angels, you know. And I'm sure she's watching down on my daughter and I. But I decided at that time that, okay, Alexis, get your shit together. Stop with all the BS and really focus on myself, because I started before the pandemonium in 2019 losing weight, and I lost 85 pounds. I was so proud of myself. I looked good. I felt good. Non-scale victories. I could cross my legs. I could walk up a flight of stairs without being out of breath. I had more energy. I could go grocery shopping and not sit in a riding cart. I can just walk the store. And all those things were such good non-scale victories for me. And I started back then in 2019 doing Weight Watchers. But it kind of gave me anxiety. If I ate something, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to gain 5 pounds. And my daughter would be like, Mom, that's not going to happen. And I just was so hyper focused on, you know, hyper fixated, I guess you can say, on the points. Because with Weight Watchers, it's a point system instead of a calorie system. And there's no macros or anything. It's basically a point system. So I never wanted to go over my allotted points for the day. I never wanted to use my weeklies. They give you weekly points, and that you can add on to your points when you need extra. And I didn't want to do any of that and whatever. And I did lose 85 pounds. But when the pandemonium hit in March of 2020, I was like, you know what? March of 2020, my daughter turned 22. and she was working at a French bakery and cafe, and I loved everything there. And croissants, you name it, um, macaroons, all of that, macarons. I love it all. The little tarts and everything. And so when she was laid off from her job during the pandemonium, so we were home, her, my mother, and I. We all lived together as a nuclear family. I said that back 3 videos ago, so go check that out. And so we started baking banana bread every day, all kinds of banana bread, banana loaves, banana bunt, you named it, we made it. And we were eating a lot of, that's when we really tuned into DoorDash and Instacart. We were ordering everything. We were ordering breakfast, lunch, and dinner, fast food galore. We were staying up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, eating at 2 and 3 in the morning. We would make big things of popcorn, buttered popcorn with seasoning and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we did it in, okay? We were eating. And when 2021 came, I tried to start back. I wasn't going to start back with WW, but I decided that I can do this on my own. I know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And I did, but then I just fell off the wagon again. And then when my mom got sick and I was her caregiver from probably the beginning of 2021 up until she passed in June, she did end up going into hospice, and we'll talk about that another time. But I was so hyper focused on her, I didn't care about myself. So I was making sure that she was eating because she wasn't eating. And at the time, we didn't know what was going on with her. She was having a hard time breathing. And she would just say, it's my anxiety, but it was her heart. And she didn't know how to explain it to me, never having those feelings before. And we just didn't know that she was suffering with congestive heart failure. And her heart was only working at like 15%. So it's a miracle that she even lived as long as she did, really. And I think she was diagnosed with having like a heart murmur when she was about 85. And she wore a monitor for a month and everything. We'll talk about that. I know I keep veering off topic. We'll talk about that. But anyway, in 2021, after my mother passed, I really had to sit down. The sadness was just awful, but I had to sit down and say, okay, I can't eat through this. I can't eat through losing my mother. I can't, I've got to find a way to cope and deal with this situation. And I'm like, okay, it's the middle of the year. It's June. I'm not making a resolution or anything in June, but what can I do? I've got to do better. I have to conquer this once and for all. And I just decided that I was going to start. I was not doing exercise or anything. And I had an Apple Watch. I never knew how to use it. I didn't know how to use it for the exercise or anything like that. And I would turn it on. And it would just keep going and going. And the clock would keep going. I'm like, well, I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything. And I just never think. Then I started walking here. I was diagnosed. Let's rewind. In January of 2019, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So during that time, I was still on my weight loss grind. I busted my butt to lose weight and get my numbers under control. I was scheduled for a surgery, and we'll talk about that too. And so that caused me that's how I found out I had type 2 diabetes, and I had to get I was on insulin and everything. So I had to really get my numbers down. I mean, my blood sugar was over 500. It's a miracle that I'm probably still even here. Now my blood sugars range anywhere between 70 and 90, and that's what I like. I've really worked hard at this. And I'm like, what else can I do? All right, so I started just doing steps. And I didn't even know about pumping my arms or anything. I was just like moving my feet. That's it. And I got the pedometer app on my phone, and I started just moving my feet every day and trying. I wasn't even trying to get, I was trying to get maybe if I could do 500 steps or 1,000 steps. That was all I can handle at that time. Way back in the 2000s, I was given a gift of walking videos back when we had VCRs, and I was given a gift of Leslie Sansone. I don't know if anybody knows her, and she does walking videos and walk. Oh God, I can't think of it. Walk to the Beat, maybe. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but I love Leslie Sansone, and I started watching her videos back then, but not really doing any of it. And the person also gifted me these weights, and they were hand weights. Sorry, my lights just dimmed for some reason. They were hand weights. So the weights were like balls, spheres, and you can lift them while you're walking. So I started doing that a little bit. And so fast forward to me being diagnosed with diabetes, then I decided that, okay, I need to try to do this again. But of course, I didn't have a VCR anymore or anything. So I found her on YouTube. And I'm like, oh my God. I found one of the oldest videos that she did on YouTube, probably 20 years ago or something like that. 15 years ago, the video was at that time. So right now, it's probably an 18, 20-year-old video. And I just started doing, it was a 15-minute video. And I couldn't even do that video for maybe 5 minutes. And I had to use a walker to hold on to and just try to do the step portion of the video. And I just couldn't do it. And so I would try to do 5 minutes. And I worked it up to where I could actually do 15 minutes. And I started doing that every single day. Just 15 minutes. That's all I can handle. And started figuring out how to use my watch and counting the steps and the calories that I was burning and closing rings. So that became a big thing for me. And that was something that motivated me. So I decided that I'm going to continue. And I did that through the whole of 2021. And when my mother passed, I fell off for a little bit and I just started eating anything I wanted. And then in 2022, I decided I want to do carnivore. I watched some people on YouTube and I'm like, I think this is for me. And I started doing the carnivore, and I only did it maybe for a month or two. And it wasn't really, at that time, sustainable for me because we were really struggling, my daughter and I, financially. And my daughter got a job at Lidl, and she worked there maybe for 9 months. But so we would go there and buy groceries. They didn't get, I don't think, any discounts on groceries that I recall or anything like that. But since she worked there, that's where we would go and shop. Or it would be easier for her to shop on one of her days off, like on a payday or something. And so it was easy and convenient. So we started shopping there and trying to buy as many meats as we could. And I really love steak. So I was focusing my carnivore on just having like beef and ground beef, steak. And it just got to the point where I just really couldn't afford it. And I love veggies. But then I realized that veggies don't really love me. And I think I have what's called SIBO. And sometimes I cannot eat veggies. They do not work for me. And they make me so sick, so bloated. So I'm like, okay, I think this carnivore thing is the thing for me. So I started doing it little by little, and I started following Dr. Mindy Pelz here on YouTube. She's also on Instagram, and I'm sure she has a website and everything. She's amazing. And she has a book, Fast Like a Girl, and I think she has a cookbook now, Eat Like a Girl. And I don't have either of those books. I would love both of them. So hopefully I'll be able to get those soon. But I watch her religiously, all her videos, and I started really I was doing fasting, but I didn't understand fasting, didn't know what I was doing, how I was doing it. So I started focusing on the fasting and doing my carnivore, doing OMAD, doing some 3-day fast, maybe once a month or so. And that really helped me. And then I was able to do more of my steps and everything. To now, I could do 2.5 hours of exercise. And that's what I do, sprinkled out through my day. And I do that, and I try to get it all done before 4 or 5 in the afternoon, because I like a lot of steps and it burns a lot of calories. I like to burn over 2,000 calories. I like to be in a calorie deficit. So I like to burn a lot of calories because I do like to eat. And I feel like I starve myself just to try to lose a couple pounds, and that's no way to live. So I feel like the more I work out, and now I've started doing Blogilates on YouTube, and I do some of her chair videos and the weights, and I love that. And so I'm trying to incorporate, I've laid off the weights for a little bit. I hurt myself and I wasn't able to do them for a while, so now I'm trying to get back into that and doing that at least 3 days a week. I really do small weights, like 1 pound, 2 pound weights, but I do have weights up until 10 pounds. So some days I try to do the 10-pound weights. I can't do anything over my head. My range of motion is like, this is as high as this arm goes, and this one can go up a little bit further, but it hurts my shoulders. So I try really, just to do these kind of weights or the hammer curls and things like that. So every year I decide that I'm going to do better, and I want to do a little bit more, and I want to do a little bit more, and I want to do a little bit more. So that is where I am with resolutions. Every year I decide, okay, Alexis, last year I lost 50 pounds, and I went from 270 down to maybe 271, I think, down to 223. And this week I'm up 2 pounds. I'm up to 225. So I'm trying to get down. I go to the doctor on the 13th, which is Monday coming. Whenever you're seeing this video, January 13th is when I go to the doctor. Today is January 8th when I'm filming this. And so I really want to be down 100 pounds. And so I'm working on that. So I don't make resolutions. I make intentions. I intend to get down to Wonderland this year. That is my intention. And I intend to focus on my eating, on eating more protein every day, on not snacking, on not having junk food and sugar, because that's not for me. It doesn't work well for my body, and I know that. But then you get, a wild bug up your butt, and it's like, oh, well, I can have this and I can have that. And I see all the girly pops eating this, that, and the other, and I'm going to do it too. Okay, well, the girly pops are in their 20s. They're skinny. They're bopping around town and all the other stuff they do. That's not me. I'm sedentary. All my exercises for right now are done seated. I either sit in a pub chair when I'm doing my weights, or I'm in my recliner doing my steps, and with my feet on the ground, moving my feet. And so, that's what I do. So yeah, just be intentional. Don't stress yourself out with making all this. Well, I'm going to, my resolution this year is I'm not going to eat any rice this year, and I'm not going to go out for drinks this year. Start slow. So do dry January if you're somebody who drinks. Or you're not going to eat rice. Okay, well, don't cut it out altogether. Maybe say, I won't eat rice for every meal, or I won't eat rice every day at lunchtime if that's what you do. Maybe I'll have rice once a week at lunchtime, and I'll incorporate something else. Maybe I'll mix it with some rice cauliflower, or I'll have a salad or something else. Don't put those limits on yourself, because it's stressful. And then we're now starting the second week of 2025, and everybody's falling off. Everybody's falling off. Like, I don't want to do this anymore, because you set yourself up to fail. Don't set yourself up to fail. Don't set yourself up to fail. Set yourself up for success. Baby steps will set you up for success. Okay, peeps, I guess that's it. I've chatted. And I'm all over the place as usual. I'll get better with that. I do have notes. I don't have cue cards. I need to find a spot where I could put some cards out so I can read what I'm talking about and get to my points and get better. So if you have a suggestion about that, leave it in the comments for me. I hope that you like these videos of me just chatting about my life in my 60s and all the things I've learned. And we'll go back. I have so many things to talk about. So many. A plethora of topics. So we will go back and talk about so many things. But thank you so much for watching me, for supporting me. If you're new here, welcome. Again, I'm Lexi, and I am 60 years old, and I'm a sexagenarian, and I am just finding my way here as a content creator. You know, finding my way. I'm definitely not anybody's influencer because I don't influence anybody to do anything. But if you want to watch me for entertainment and to hear what's going on in my brain, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. So please give this video a like for me. Pretty please. I would so appreciate it. And comment down below. Check my community tab because I will be putting little notes and things in there from time to time. Please subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, and it'll help me. I'm trying to get, right now, I have literally 7 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 10. Can I get to 10, please? Somebody, have pity. Subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. We're growing. I'm going to be posting videos every single day for a while until I figure out, where else we're going. The lighting sucks, I know. I'm in my bedroom right now. We are north facing, so we don't get a lot of sun. And hopefully we'll be moving soon, and we will be in some place that's south facing with a lot of light, and some place has bright walls, and that's beautiful. We'll be talking about that too. We'll be talking about this place where I've lived for 10 years. Interesting. We'll have some interesting chats. Thank you. And I forgot to say in my last video, but I love you plenty. If nobody's told you that they love you today, I love you plenty. And I thank you so much for being here, for giving me a chance, and for watching. Until next time, deuces.